Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel. I'm here with a familiar face in local politics, Lorne Adrain, who had run in 2014 for mayor of Providence. He's going to be getting outside the confines of Rhode Island once again. Thank you for coming into the studio, Lorne.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Kate.
You're going to be taking off pretty shortly.
I'm leaving Sunday. I'm flying to Seattle, and I'm riding my bicycle back to Providence.
So, I don't even know where to start with the questions. This community across America, I know you're going to Seattle.
Yeah.
How long is this going to take?
So it'll be about 8 weeks, plus or minus a little bit, a real challenge for me. But what I hope to do every day when I end my riding is to just introduce myself to people and ask them about the great things about their community and what they're doing to make it better.
And how did mapping out the route, how did you decide where you're going to be going?
Well, I wanted to go across the north because it's cooler and I like cool air. But there's very, very well-oiled route maps across the country by the Adventure Cycling Association.
So about 8 weeks, how much are you biking a day?
I'll be doing somewhere between 55 and 70 miles a day. Some days, I'm sure going up the Rockies will be maybe 1.5 miles, and I'll have days when I do 100 miles. But average 55, 70, somewhere in there.
Now, if you go, it's on Facebook, it's on social media, you can follow what the intent of this journey is. You've been thinking about this for a while. Yeah,
so when I was in business school at Harvard 35 years ago, I had this idea about riding my bicycle around the world and raising money for a venture capital fund for micro enterprises. I never got to do the trip, but I sort of hung on to the idea of a very long distance ride for the physical challenge, the mental challenge, and so on. And I just have this little window in my life, 30 years later, that I can do this. So I thought, well, I better go now before this old rack doesn't want to do it anymore. And so I'm ready to go.
He's got the bike jersey.
Okay. URI, and here we go.
How many jerseys do you have to bring with you? How much packing? I mean, the logistics just blow my mind.
Well, so the good news is I'm only in each place once, so I don't have to have a lot of fashion with me. I just got to try to make sure that it doesn't smell too much. So I'll have a couple jerseys. I've got this one from URI. I've got one from RISD. I'm getting one from with octopuses on it, and the Independent Man from the State House. So
wait, on the same jersey, octopuses and the Independent Man?
Different jerseys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a really interesting jersey.
Bike Newport is the octopus one, and the Independent Man and the State House and everything is a Rhode Island jersey.
Now, is this a solo act? Do you have a...
It is. I thought about having what they call a sag wagon, a van going along with me. But then I thought, if I'm rolling into town with a van, nobody will notice. But if just some old guy rolls into town on a bike with everything he owns on the back of the bike, well, people I think will be more sympathetic and they'll allow me to say hello and talk to me.
So how much are you taking with you when you say all the stuff on your bike? Do we know, how many pounds this is going to be?
Yeah, so I think all in, the bike and the gear, I'm probably looking at 60 pounds by the time I'm done.
60 pounds?
Yeah. Well, and then another 225 on top of that. But by the end of the trip, maybe it'll only be 200.
Oh my gosh. So what are you bringing with you in terms of technology? You want to keep folks up to speed? Are we just talking phone and cords?
Well, good question. So I have the latest technology for the GPS, and the GPS syncs up with my iPhone, and the iPhone syncs up with a Garmin Cloud app, and then that syncs up with Facebook. So people can actually watch the progress along the way, and they'll know if I'm dogging it, or they'll know if I'm working hard, and they'll know if I'm going uphill or downhill, and how fast and how slow, and how many breaks I'm taking.
And also offer you some support. Say, hey, keep at it.
Yeah.
We're following you.
Yeah. So we're gonna have contests for best pictures and best short videos and community ideas. The whole idea of this thing, aside from me having a great life experience, is to try to learn something about what people are doing around the country, and to bring some ideas back here that we can experiment with.
So in 8 weeks from now, am I going to have you back here in the studio? Well, 8 weeks from what, Sunday?
From Sunday, yeah.
Have you back in
mid-November.
Okay. Mid-November,
yeah,
oh my gosh.
The new slimmer me.
I mean, how many calories do you have to eat a day to bike all this?
I don't think you can eat enough calories. That's why you lose weight. Yeah.
Hydrate, eating. So have you reached out to folks in the stops that you're making? How much pre-preparation have you done? Or is it more organic and just sort of seeing what happens when you get there?
It's kind of a mixed bag. So I'm going to be staying at inexpensive hotels and Airbnbs. And there's actually an app called Warm Showers, which sounds really, really good. But there's 30,000 people all across the country who have said, if you're on a bike and you're coming through town, we'd love to host you. So I'll be testing that out. And I do have a bunch of friends across the country, and I hope to see them. And I have a daughter in Ann Arbor, relatives in southern Canada. And so, I'm going to bump along and see some people I know and just meet a whole bunch of new people.
The warm showers. So I'm just so intrigued by this. Is it people in the bike community who just know that this is sort of needed and it's sort of reciprocal? Like if you're someplace around the country, it'd be great to stop someplace and so you're going to say, I'm going to open my door when they come through Rhode Island.
That's right. I'm a host here on the east side, although I haven't been called yet. I'm still
you haven't gotten the call up?
That's right.
Can I take a shower? So you're leaving Sunday.
Yep.
And you get to Seattle.
Yep.
And when does the biking actually start?
So I've got I already shipped my bike out there. I've got a little work to do on it. I've got a meeting with the Seattle Mayor's office on the Monday.
Oh, fantastic.
And then I'm actually starting just a little bit north of Seattle in a town called Anacortes, which is in the San Juan Islands area. That'll be the starting point. You dip the tire in the Pacific, and you come back to India Point, Providence.
Wow, from coast to coast.
Yep.
How much training did you have to do? I mean, could you possibly be prepared for this undertaking?
All right, so now you're getting very, very personal, and I'm embarrassed. So I'm in reasonably good shape for an old guy. I didn't do nearly as much training as I could have or should have, but I've done enough to feel comfortable, and I've been told by all of my contacts that have done rides across the country that don't worry. When you ride up the Cascades and you ride over the Rockies, you'll be in shape when you're done.
So is that the toughest part? Is the beginning over sort of the mountainous regions, and then is it tough towards the end? What are the tough parts of the journey?
Well, I think the beginning is tough, largely because you're getting used to being on a bicycle seat for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, day after day after day, and riding 50, 60, 70, 100 miles. That takes some getting used to. I think it takes some getting used to getting your muscles worked up to be able to do the hills mile after mile. But the real answer is, I don't know. I'll find out.
You'll find out. And we talked a little bit, each stop that you make, you want to get a sense from the people that you're talking with. What do you want to hear from them? What their views are, where the country's going, where we are internationally, how things are at the local level. There's so many conversations. How do you boil them all down into sort of one night when you see them?
Yeah, so I'm boiling it down to a couple themes. One is the theme of acceptance of one another and respect for one another and trying to listen to and understand each other. I think that's really missing in our culture today, and so I want to listen for that. Two is I want to listen for initiative. Communities get better when individuals each do a little something. Maybe it's something to just help a neighbor, maybe it's something to provide leadership in their community, but they're doing something beyond themselves. So I want to learn from the people all across America who have ideas somewhat similar and somewhat different than ours.
And you're going to report back to us here. We're going to get you in November when you're back about these stories. Now, it's just about 3 years since you had run for mayor here in Providence.
I knew you were going to go there.
Look, back to politics. This is the news and politics hour.
Okay.
They kind of go hand in hand.
I didn't get the memo on that. Okay.
So talk with us. It's interesting. We just had Jennifer Lawless on Down in American. It was 11 years since she had lost to Langevin in the primary. 3 years, looking back, sort of, what's the takeaways from your run, and would you run again?
So the takeaways from the run are that, I learned so much about this community that I love. I've been involved in many, many things over decades in Providence, serving in as many ways as I could, but I still learn things, and that's pretty darn exciting to find new parts of the city and new neighborhoods where people would share their stories, and I'd learn what life is like for them, and I'd get great ideas from them on the things that we could do to make Providence better. So that was a huge takeaway. I hated the fundraising, but that's rather universal.
Does anyone like the fundraising?
No.
Did you know how much time you had to spend on the phone?
I had no idea, but I did. I liked parts of it, but some of it was not so much fun. But people were very generous and very supportive. Did very, very well on the fundraising. But as we all know, I had a situation with Buddy Cianci coming into the race, and I knew that if I stayed in, there was a chance he could win, and I knew, based on the polling, that if I got out, that he couldn't win. So that's what we did. With regard to ever running again, it's something that I'm thinking about.
Okay.
It's something that I'm thinking about. So there's two questions, fundamental questions. One is, given where the city is today, would I be the right person to add value to the city and the trajectory and our progress? And two is, am I at the right place in my life? I've got a 13-year-old daughter who needs time and attention from Ann and me and the rest of her family. So I'm thinking about those two fundamental questions.
You've got a lot of time to think on that
I do
bike.
indeed. Yeah.
I've never been a bike rider. I mean, I don't really run that far, so an hour sort of tops.
Yeah.
Do you have to be focused on the road, or does your mind start to wander a little bit?
Yeah, so you really have to focus on the road because there can be all kinds of little things in front of you. It could be a little stone, it could be a little hole in the ground, it could be any number of things that can derail your balance and throw you into traffic or throw you over the edge or something. I've got to be on the lookout for texting drivers behind me. So all of these things which are risks. That being said, I will still be wandering from time to time and thinking about what are the kinds of things that I want to do in whatever runway I have left in my life, and what are the kinds of things that I can do to be helpful to my community.
And so when you talk about the days being planned out and where you anticipate being, I mean, I've got to imagine there's got to be plan Bs. If you're tired, you're hurt, inclement weather. What happens when you think you're hitting Chicago for that night and you're not quite there? I mean, how do contingency plans work in this situation?
That's a really good question. So my son Sam, as you know, is helping me with the logistics, and so he's based back on the East Coast in Brooklyn, and he's going to be looking every day at where I am, and we're going to make our best guess in the morning where I'll be at night, and he's going to do his best to set up opportunities to speak with people in each of those neighborhoods, each of those communities about what's going on there.
So is he really kind of your quarterback?
In many ways, he's doing a great job. Getting a lot of support from the family. My 13-year-old Annabelle says, "More power to you." Ariane, who's my oldest, out in Ann Arbor, she's excited and going to get her husband to ride with me a little bit. And Sam is spending time every day working on the Facebook page, Community Across America on Facebook. Like it, follow it, share ideas. It's all about learning from each other.
Fantastic. Well, when I saw this, I said, I know I had to get Lorne in here. The second Adrain here in the studio, because Sam was in here with Molly, talking about all he's doing with the art. So it was great to have you in talking about, again, this community building across the country. We're going to continue to follow it and get you back in here when you're back.
Thank you so much.
Lorne Adrain, thanks for coming in.
Thanks
I
so
wish
much,
you all
and
the best. Again, check it out. We'll be sure to have the links up when you catch